What's going on, my people? It's your boy Kayman, and I'm back with a brand new video. In today's video, we'll be discussing my game week 26 team review, as well as my game week 27 transfer plans, potential transfer plans, as well as the game week 27 team selections. We're also going to be touching on the fixtures and kind of analyze and see what fixtures to target, as well as the captaincy analysis for game week 27. So without further ado, let's dive in. First and foremost, your boy actually had a phenomenal game week. I had 81 points. Kind of disappointed that I didn't get a bit more. I thought I kind of made a big mistake by benching TR, who had 11 pointer. I did end up scoring versus Spurs away, and I think he racked a few bonus points as well. And he also hit Defcon, so kind of disappointed that I did not start him ahead of Creepy. I started Creepy, who ended up getting benched. That was a skill issue on my part. The double game week, the triple captaincy was ultimately a failure as well, if I'm being honest with you, and partly due to the fact that I expected Gabriel to get a double digit. For example, I wanted him to get maybe minimum 10 points. That didn't happen. He got 7 points. He did luckily get an assist and Defcon versus Brentford, but they did end up conceding 2 goals to Wolves, which I don't think anybody saw personally. I didn't see it either. Brentford, I expect him to concede, but I also thought he was going to get Defcon. So instead of 4 points, he's got 3 points because he picked up a yellow card as well. Secondly, with the Wolves fixture, Arsenal were just really poor. They went up 2-0. In the second half, they looked abysmal. They were just wasting time and whatnot. And to be honest, they deserved to concede those 2 goals. So ultimately, it was a failure. All the analysis that I've done in terms of the triple captainship, it made sense to me. When we did the maths in terms of, calculated his 2-game stretch, the total that he done was the lowest was 9 points. But when we actually triple captained him in some of his best fixtures, he ended up getting his lowest score the whole season. So that's just how the cookie crumble. It is what it is. Rice, of course, phenomenal. He was my vice. He ended up getting 14 points. He's got an assist and Defcon in both games as well. He also racked up bonus points in both games. So very good asset. And of course, star of my game week is O'Reilly, who ended up scoring actually a goal. Listen, he's playing out of position in midfield. So that kind of worked out in my favor. But ultimately, really disappointed that FPL has only given him 1 bonus point. And they've awarded someone like 8 Nori as well as Gehi, I think more BPS, over someone like O'Reilly, who actually scored a goal as well as kept a clean sheet. That doesn't make sense to me, if I'm being honest, but the game is what it is, right? Cole Palmer, again, the savior of my season, my hero, ended up getting a GA again and actually outscoring Gabriel in a double game week. I mean, it would have been too bad to triple captain Rice or Palmer, but yeah, it is what it is. New addition to my team, Rodgers, who actually, to be honest with you guys, it was a very close call for me between Semenyo and Rodgers. And I was discussing it over the last 2 weeks because I really like both of these assets. And to be honest, they were both template pick to some extent. But at the same time, I just felt like Rodgers made much more sense because in the long run, I wouldn't be booking transfers, especially in game week 31, where there's going to be a blank game week. And City are most likely going to blank. I just wanted to be ahead of that transfer, and Rodgers had good fixtures coming up. And the minutes were good too. So I did go there. There's no regrets. It's just only 1 week he blanked. But quite disappointed that he did, and Semenyo bagged the 14-pointer. That's a kind of a tough swing, but it is what it is. The forward position, Haaland actually came off in this first half. I think he picked up an injury, but he should be fine. He got an assist. I think he would have got a lot more GA versus Fulham. Fulham were really poor defensively, to be honest. And yeah, I think Haaland definitely would have punished the non-cappers if he stayed longer. And then Bowen, 5-pointer, an assist. To be honest, he just ticks along. He's a good asset. And Krupa Jr., as I said, was a big disappointment. I did end up, starting him. It was a close call on the last stream, and I've started him and he got benched. So yeah, 345k in the world, pretty respectable rank at the moment. I think I've somewhat turned my season around, so alhamdulillah for that. So without further ado, let's move on to my game week 27 transfer plan. Game week 27, as you guys can see, I have 1 potential transfer. I'm looking to sell Jared Bowen, who's got Bournemouth at home. It's a great fixture, by the way, for Thiago. He's got Brighton at home, following up with Burnley away, as well as Bournemouth away and Wolves and Leeds. So these are great fixtures on paper. I mean, West Ham fixtures are kind of dried up. I mean, of course, Bournemouth is a good fixture, as I said, but then it's Liverpool, Fulham, Man City, and Aston Villa. Of course, Bowen could potentially hit Defcon and get maybe 1 or 2 returns in that tough fixture run potentially, but the chances are quite slim, especially for a GA return. If I'm gonna go to Thiago anyways, come game week 28, I could just bring that transfer 1 week ahead. The only thing is that Bournemouth are quite poor away from home, whereas Brighton have been quite somewhat decent defensively away from home. So maybe is it worth for me to go that early on Thiago? Maybe I could wait 1 more week and reassess and see the lay of the land. And yeah, I think I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to do this move, but this is a potential transfer that I'm looking at come the deadline that I may do. At the moment, I'm on the fence on it, but yeah, I could do this move, or I could wait one more week and do it in game week 28. Let me know what you guys think. Would you do this move this week, or maybe postpone it to game week 28? Let's now move on to the game week 27 team selection. We have it for game week 27. I'm actually starting with Petrovic at the back. He's got West Ham away. Pretty good fixture. They've been decent somewhat recently in terms of not conceding too many goals. So I'm quite happy to start him away to West Ham and hopefully get some save points, if not a clean sheet. And then you got Big Gabby as well as Timber and O'Reilly. Timber has been extremely disappointment. I didn't touch on him much in the double game week. He was really poor. He only got 4 points. And he's someone that's been, and nearly or almost done a whole type of asset. I've owned him pretty much majority of the season. He hasn't rewarded me, to be fair. And I just think he's too much money to be keeping in my team for too long. But Tottenham is a good fixture. But he's someone on the chopping block for me. If I need the funds to upgrade any other positions, I'll be looking to selling him somewhere in the near future because he does blank in game week 31 as well. But Big Gabby is staying. He's got Tottenham away. Hopefully he will do well. But pretty much everyone has him anyway. So yeah. And then you got Nico O'Reilly, the man who's playing out of position right now. And he's playing in midfield. And I think his chance of getting G is much higher. But of course his DEFCON potentially reduces. But again, the fact that he can get a potential bonus for a clean sheet, as well as the fact that he can get attacking returns, is just phenomenal right now. So I'm quite happy to start him at Newcastle at home, even if he doesn't keep it clean. As I said, attacking returns are there. Moving to my midfield is, of course, the main man, Rice. I think Tottenham is a good fixture. He's someone that's on the shopping block as well. But he's just, he's just so good at ticking along, and he's one of the best players from Arsenal. I do want to keep him as long as I can, but come game week 28, I may have to decide whether to sell Palmer or Rice because the fixture does change for both assets. And but yeah, I think Rice could easily be a hold as well if I wanted to. But for this week, Tottenham away, I think it's a fine fixture. And then you go Harry Wilson, Sunderland away. I do have a bit of dilemma whether to start Mukiele or Wilson, which we'll get into. But ultimately, the reason why I have Wilson at the moment ahead of Mukiele is because there's no Xhaka, there's no Odorete. I don't see a clean sheet for Sunderland, if I'm being honest. Even though they've been really good at home this season, I still think Fulham find a way to score. And if they do, I'm hoping maybe Harry Wilson will be involved, whether with assist or a goal. And then you go, of course, Bruno Fernandes, Everton away. It's a very good fixture, potentially a captaincy shot, if I'm being honest. They've been really poor at home, Everton themselves. They've been conceding a lot of goals. So it's a good fixture for Bruno to be a captain, as well as maybe get big returns for myself. And then you got, of course, Mr. Differential Cole Palmer, who's got Burnley at home, does currently have the captaincy armband, which I'll get into later why. It's a great fixture, to be honest, and he does have a very good record, strictly speaking, especially the 3 p.m. kickoff. He's very good. And then you got Rodgers, Leeds at home, great fixture. I think my assets are the one that I'm most excited this week are probably going to be Palmer and Rodgers. Both are going to be hitting that celebration, hopefully, inshallah. And then up front, you got the main man, Earl of Norway, Haaland, who is back from injury, by the way, and he should be playing Newcastle. And I think he will be the template captain for most people who don't own Palmer. And I think it's a good fixture for them, considering the fact that Newcastle have a lot of injuries in midfield because they're missing, Bruno Guimaraes, as well as some of the centre backs and full backs. And you got, of course, Jared Bourne up top. That's not going to be 100% confirmed, as I said. For the time being, I do have him. The only thing that's kind of annoying is the fact that he's playing against my goalkeeper. But again, I'm not too fussed. Even if he scores, at least maybe, hopefully, Petrovic can get some save points. But it's a close call between whether if I want to get Thiago or keep Bourne for this week. Tune into deadline stream to see what I do with that. To move on to the bench, of course, I've got Dubravka, Tio, and as well as Creepy and Mukiele. As I said, Mukiele versus Wilson was a little bit of a close call, but I'm going with Wilson with the things that I mentioned earlier about them missing their key players. Let's now move on to the game week 27 captaincy analysis. In terms of captaincy, as you guys can see, there is, of course, Haaland, who's got Newcastle at home. He's got a pretty decent record. He's pretty to potentially get 90 minutes, and he does have good rest as well. He's coming back from an injury, though. That's the only concern. But I think he'll be the template captain due to the fact that he's playing at home, and the kickoff time is very good for him as well. 8 p.m. And you also have Bruno Fernandes playing Everton away. As I mentioned, he's got a very good record versus them, and Everton has been really poor at home. He's another one I think I can see some people going. But because Brantwaite is back, I do kind of worry about that captaincy. And we are missing Harry Maguire potentially, as well as De Ligt. So we're going to be somewhat vulnerable defensively as well. They're both good candidates, if you ask me. But my favourite one is, of course, Cole Palmer at home to Burnley. His record is phenomenal. He's got last time he held 15-pointer. Hopefully, he does the same thing again. The only thing that worries me, though, they did have a little bit of a break, and he did go to Dubai and did some sort of, partying and whatnot. Hopefully, he'll be back and, get some training sessions in ahead of Burnley and do some damage, and he's been doing really well so far. He's a big differential for me. If he delivers one more time, I could potentially get back into the top 100k race. Yeah, and the last but not least, you got Salah away to Nottingham Forest. I'm not a fan of that captaincy this week, if I'm being honest. First, I'm most likely going to be playing anti-football, where they're going to probably park the bus and counter, Liverpool. But look, Salah is always an option. I don't want to discount the king, but ultimately I would much rather prefer someone like Palmer or even Bruno or Haaland this week. So my ranking would be essentially Palmer number 1 if you own, if not Haaland number 2, and Bruno Fernandes as the third option. So let me know what you guys think. Let's finally move on to the fixture analysis. So when you look at the fixtures, guys, I think a lot of us are going to be shopping in the midfield section, and that will include the likes of course, Liverpool assets, even potentially even some City assets as well. Semenyo's been on incredible form ever since he moved to Manchester City. He's been starting every game, getting 90 minutes, and he's in hot form. Fixtures, when you look on paper, are very, very good, if I'm being honest with you. Newcastle, Leeds, Forest, West Ham, they're as good as anybody. The only one that could rival is probably, I would say, Brentford. The only concern is the fact that he's blanking in 31, and if you have one free transfer and you already have a couple of assets that are blanking in 31, it's a bit tricky one, because if you have multiple transfers, I would understand why you get Semenyo, right? Because you can easily take him out in 31 and then, you will have full playing 11 potentially. But if you have one free transfer and you do that and you get another injury and then you have a blanking assets, like maybe 6, 7 blanking assets, including Semenyo, that could be problematic for you. That's the only downside of Semenyo, but otherwise he's a phenomenal asset. I really wanted to get him, but I ended up going with Rodgers, and I think I would still do that move this week if I had only one free transfer, which I did last week. So I think if you missed the haul already, it is what it is. You just gotta hope for the best, and of course Doku and Savinho's back as well. Maybe pray and hope that they take off some minutes from him, but still is going to be a good asset. I think if you got multiple transfers, I think he's worth it. On the other hand, the counterpart is Florian Wirtz for me. This week I had a decision whether to sell Rice to Semenyo or potentially sell Rice next week to bring in Florian Wirtz. If you look at the Liverpool fixtures, they turn for the best, if I'm being honest. They're playing West Ham. They also got Wolves, Tottenham and Brighton. They also don't blank in 31. So I'm choosing, to be honest, again, I chose last week Rodgers ahead of Semenyo, and the following week I'm potentially going to choose Wirtz ahead of Semenyo. Not that because I think that they are better than Semenyo as an asset in isolation, but rather because I don't have to use extra transfers to be able to deal with that problem coming in 31. Because I could have injuries in my team and I only have one free transfer. I wouldn't be able to deal with all the blanking players, as well as, use 2 free transfers to be able to take out Semenyo and bring him back. It just wouldn't work. I just feel like it's a bit of a sideways move. Of course, another on the hot list, as I said, is the Brentford mids. A lot of people look at the Brentford mids, whether it be Dang or Sade. My personal favorite would probably be Sade, but I just think Thiago is enough. I don't think you need to go all out. But if you were really chasing and you wanted to make some grounds, I think Sade is fine. And of course, there's another, there's a new shiny toy in town, is Ryan, which everyone is asking about. He did get 2 returns. I still think I would be cautious there, because once Tavernier is back, I do think he's a better asset, who's I think 5.4 million now, who's going to have penalties as well. So if he's back for, say, for example, give me 28 or even 29, I would much rather have him moving forward instead of Ryan, for example. I'm not sure about his minutes. And from Aston Villa, of course, you will have Rodgers. I know he's blanked last week. I still would have him. Yeah, I think that'll be it. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to smash the like button. Make sure to leave a comment down below and tune into the deadline stream. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace out.